welcome to another episode of Ask the Healthcare Advocate live on Facebook, where every Sunday morning between 8:30 and 8:45-ish, I review important topics in the world of healthcare advocacy. Feeling a little bit under the weather this morning, but I wanted to get out there and not give up on my Facebook Live. So if I seem a little subdued, I apologize ahead of time. But as you can see from my notes, or the description is that next week, my friend and colleague, Tamar Maisel, and I, who's a medical coach, we're going to be restarting our 3-part caregiver series on caregivers, how to help out caregivers. We're going to be starting that next Monday. So I thought that it'd be appropriate this morning to give just a little taste of things that we're going to be talking about and why it's so important. For our first topic, caregiving during a crisis, which we all would like to avoid the crisis, obviously, and we'd all also like to be prepared ahead of time for the crisis, hence the discussion we'll have on planning ahead. But sometimes we cannot help it, especially when we're caring for people who are not stable, or people who have, or older patients. So, for example, my mother, as you know, as I've mentioned probably, I'm also a professional patient advocate, and I'm also the primary caregiver of my mother, who has Alzheimer's dementia. And we had a lovely foray into a hospital a couple of years ago, where we found ourselves in the emergency room at midnight, talking to the surgeon on call about what to do with my mother, who was having some bleeding issues. So the first thing that I want to make clear is often we're in these situations that we're by ourselves, meaning you're the caregiver of the person, and your significant other or whomever, they're probably back at the ranch with the other people that you're taking care of. So you are often alone. So the first thing that I say is, if you can have a partner with you, that's when you have to go into crisis, find that partner. It could be a good friend, it could be a sibling, it could be a partner like a spouse, but find somebody who you can go with so you're not alone. That's the first thing, because when you're in crisis, it's very overwhelming. The second thing is, as much as you can, you're going to take a deep breath and try to, even if everything is going on chaotic around you, try to take a deep breath, center yourself, not trying to sound like too, woohoo, but very important. And remember that even in a crisis, you still need to have the process of decision making. So when, often what happens in a crisis is, unfortunately, even the medical professionals, they come bustling in and like, we have to do this, and maybe we have to do this. And you don't want to lose the sense of decision making. So you still need to take a step back, and you need to say, wait, what are our principles here? What is going on here? For example, I spoke to somebody not long ago whose father was he was in the last stages of dementia, and they seemed like something was going on, and they called MADA. They called emergency services, and they came in, and they ended up trying to resuscitate her father, and they worked on her father for almost an hour, and she said it was horrific. They wouldn't let her in the room. She could hear his ribs cracking. It was very painful and difficult. The point being here is that, sometimes you need to say, stop. What's our goal? And if they had already decided that they didn't want a prolonged resuscitation, and they didn't want that level of intervention, she's allowed to say that. Once MADA comes in, obviously they have their own protocols, and I'm not saying that it's easy, but I'm saying there is an element is to say, wait, let's take one step back. It can even be 30 seconds, but what's going on here? What's the because nothing is ever black and white. And that's what's important to know. So first of all, as much as you can, have those conversations in advance so you know what people's desires are. But even in a situation when you can't, it's okay to say, stop. even for 30 seconds. And often what happens is you'll be in the room and the doctor will come in and he or she is in the middle of something else, and they'll just sort of shoot something off to you. We have to do blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, okay, we'll do that. If we can, and I'm not saying it's easy, but if we can, say, stop. What are you saying? What are the next steps? What do you think is going on? Why do you want to do X? Often they want to do X just because that's sort of like the next piece, but they're not thinking through the next steps. And even in an emergency situation, this is very crucial. So that is my next take-home message for you, is to be able to say, stop, even 30 seconds. What's going on? Let's have a look, a review of the situation, and what are our goals here, and what are the next steps going forward, and understand the doctor's reasoning, because often when you follow the doctor's path through, you'll see, oh wait, you're arriving at that decision, and I thought you were arriving at this decision. So that's very important. And the third thing is very important, I think, is the concept of physical comfort. Meaning, especially in an emergency room. When I was with my mother in the emergency room, we were like right under a vent. She was cold. I mean, she didn't really know where she was. She was very stressful. As much as you can you bring in your own blankets? Can you bring in more like weather appropriate clothes for the hospital? Are you eating, but eating food that is not just comfort food, but eating food that will sustain you? I can't even tell you, like, right, how many times have you been in the emergency room and you end up like having coffee and chocolate? So sometimes that's what you need to do. But in other times, if someone says, can I bring you something, right? You say, yeah, even like a sandwich, even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning when it's the emergency room, but you're totally off kilter, meaning just sort of be aware of those things, that you are the caregiver and you need to take care of yourself. So you need to make sure that you are eating and you're keeping yourself like balanced, and that you're keeping yourself physically comfortable. The second thing is, sorry for the chicken in the background. The second thing is, going back, is that you can say, stop, let's evaluate for a second. That is completely acceptable and very important, even if it's for 30 seconds, so that you understand what's going on and you don't feel like you're being pulled into something that is not at all what anybody wanted or chose. And the first thing that I mentioned is, as best as you can, if possible, try to get somebody else to be there with you in the crisis situation. So I hope that was a bit helpful. Feel free to post a comment and respond, and please join us next Monday at 7:30. And if you would like the registration information, then please send me a message, and I'll be happy to send it out to you. And as always, join us every Sunday morning between 8:30 and 9, when we discuss things all related to healthcare advocacy.